Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Has everybody that stopped raining? So it's a nicer day than it was this morning. This morning was pouring rain. All right, everybody's almost in. Van, you weren't here yesterday, so there's an activity short activity that we did yesterday, and actually I'm gonna pull up. It initiated in Canvas, so give me a minute and I will kind of walk you through what that was about. Almost everybody finished this yesterday. So today we're going to look at, I had a question with one of the questions that y'all did in AP Classroom. So I want to look at that. But Van, the question that is on your to-do list asked you to look at okay, natural disturbances. So look in Canvas under natural disturbances is, and you come to this section here on climate change and sea level. And the question that is posed to you on your assignment page really is the same question right here. They want you to read through these two tablets. So you're going to read climate change, and climate change has you looking at ocean currents and figuring out what ocean currents is, and then looking at solar radiation, looking what that is. The greenhouse gases, well, how that affects climate change. So all of these are affecting climate change, and I'm running through this with everybody. Well, hold on, let me let somebody else in. Okay. And after you've read through all of these situations, then go through sea level. And sea level doesn't have anything for you to turn. They just want you to go down and look at what the effect of sea level is. And then after you've read both of them, you decide which of these two, climate change or sea level, um, which do you think would have the most wide-ranging consequences? And that's the question. It's a 5-point question, so you need to say more than then pick one. You need to explain, give some support using some of the um, situations as to why you feel it's this one and not the other one. Or maybe you feel like both are important, have wide-ranging difficulties. All right, everybody else, because the other person who was missing, I just want you to read today. I don't want to go to the next AP classroom, but I do want to point out one of the questions that you all answered in the AP classroom um, talked about succession, and that's really not a topic that comes up until 2.7. So I was planning, I am going to do adaptations next, but I do want you to skip ahead and look at this so that we understand what is primary, because this was it. These were the choices in the question: primary succession and secondary succession. And we had not really talked about what those things are yet because it didn't come up yet. But it's under natural disasters and recovering from natural disasters. We want to look at, I think earlier in the year, I asked you about Maui and what changes Maui is going through. So when we look at primary succession, so just take a look at this page, but I'm going to quickly go through this with you. Succession is how the environment starts from scratch or it recovers from a disaster. So primary succession is if it's starting from scratch, an area that might have some bare rocks, and due to weathering and things of that nature, the rock breaks down and actually creates soil. And when it creates soil, then it creates an environment that plants with short vascular units, very short, because it's still dry, so you can't send down deep roots. So things like mosses will grow on top of the rocks because they have very short vascular structure. And when I say vascular structures, I mean root systems and things that take the water up and the food down as far on a plant. Okay, so when those things start to break down, they're going to have decomposers, and that's going to add some nutrition to the soil. So so here we kind of just had rocks, and now we have a layer of soil because we've had decaying things adding nutrition, some what we call organic matter to the rocky area, so we can grow some grass. And here again, grass isn't very deep as far as roots is concerned, not very tall, so we don't have a large vascular system. But because of the soil, we can have larger roots than we had with the moss growing on the rocks. All right, so from there, the grass is going to die, decompose. You get richer soil. So with richer soil, you can have more abundant plants. Shrubs can grow, and small trees can grow because we're getting a richer soil. We're getting nutrients in the soil that can support bigger plants. So the last stage is what we call a climax community, where we can actually have tall trees in that area. So this, and then notice it says it takes hundreds of years, sometimes thousands of years, for this process to occur. That's primary succession. So again, primary succession starts from nothing, then it goes to short plants, and then it goes to what we call the climax community, where this level of community in that area is what we're going to expect because of and if you look at this picture good, it's got several layers of soil. So it's built up a soil structure that can support large trees, deep roots, things of that nature. All right, then we have secondary succession. Secondary succession goes with what we were looking at as far as natural disasters occur. So we have a climax community, and all of a sudden we had a forest fire, or we had an earthquake, or we had a hurricane like we've had with North Carolina right now is still recovering from the last hurricane that went through. And so it kind of wipes out the first. So you notice this first box says established climax community. Then we have our disturbance, and now we're back to just land. But notice we're not back to rocks. We're back to soil. But all the living things that were on the soil were destroyed by some type of natural disaster. So we're recovering from that point. We're not starting from square one, but we do have to recover from having no trees. So again, mosses and lichens. So you're going to have the short plants growing first, but they're going to grow much faster because because of these things dying there, you're going to have some nutrients in the soil. So this process, notice down here at the bottom, it says 1 to 2 years, 3 to 4 years. This process is a little faster because the soil is going to be in a little better condition for things to come back. So the difference between primary succession is you're starting from scratch. It takes hundreds of years to get to a climax community. Secondary succession is always caused by some type of natural disaster. And the recovery period is much shorter. So we eventually can get back to a climax community. Now our big sturdy trees, they still take hundreds of years to grow, but still look at within 10 to 15 years, we're back to some semblance of having trees and shrubs and grass back in that same area. And that's because the things that died there because of the disaster are adding nutrients back to the soil. All right, so I want you to go ahead and read this section. I think it's kind of out of sequence in that the question in the AP classroom did ask you specifically about choosing what might have caused the graft, and they gave you the choices of succession. And that section wasn't covered yet. So please read that. And then go back, if you've already submitted all of your other assignments, go back and read adaptations, because that's what we're going to do on Friday. We're going to look at adaptations. Okay. All right. So, oh, yeah, just continue reading on this page. So in addition to succession and primary succession, finish reading this page. We need to know about keystone species, indicator species, pioneer species. So that's my next question, the effects of succession on those types of species. So, this is the short class, so just do some reading today. Read that over, and we'll have questions next time. Jayla here? No, she's not here. Okay. All right, so Van, you take the time to answer the other question, and then do this one. And everybody else, if you would just please read that over, then go back to adaptations. All right, because that's a long page. We're going to spend a good bit of time with this and activity with this, because there are a lot of adaptations, a lot of vocabulary with adaptations. So please, please just use this as a reading day. We have to know the difference between these factors. We're going to have graphs that go with these factors to look at. You need to understand the term outliers. So a lot of this is graphing. So again, please read those two sections during our time today. And again, if you had anything outstanding, I think I just checked the AP Classroom. Everybody is up to date there, I think. And so nothing there. So I'm not adding another assignment in AP Classroom. Just do want you to read Canvas. And then we'll do AP Classroom with adaptations next class. I haven't assigned it yet, so don't worry about it. Okay? Reading, please read. All right, Isadora, you have to do yesterday's assignment as well, the climate change sea level. Jada, who is not here. But other than that, I think most of you are caught up, which is wonderful. Again, please read, please read, please read. Especially the section on adaptation. Both of those sections are a little long. I want you to have some, and a lot of vocabulary. And I will add too that with those of you who are doing the AP exam, they like for you to use your vocabulary words. So you need to understand what they mean so that you can use them in the proper context. Okay, folks, if you have no questions for me, you're good to go. I'll see you on Friday.